next year.
And
so
my family settled it.
so you should be partaking in those celebrations next year as well.
They probably will call. They've called on other occasions for things.
Good.
Michelle Henry doing the job, county historian, talking about the county, some of the fun things. We have a 200-year celebration coming up next year, and it's going to be an incredible celebration. You don't have 200-year bicentennial celebrations very often in a county, do you?
No, that's right. And I hope a lot of folks will choose to participate in some way and get out and visit the local historical societies in their communities and really take this opportunity to learn a little bit more about their own local history, because I think it really helps you appreciate your community if you understand some of the things that have happened in its past and some of the people who have made it be what it is today. So we have many remarkable people from our county. We've just recently been researching a man by the name of Rice, who was instrumental in changing public education in New York State.
Oh, really? What did he do?
He was the first state superintendent of public instruction.
Okay, that's the Commissioner of Education probably now.
Right.
Who is the second most powerful person in the state, just a little beyond the governor.
And that was when they made it a separate bureau of government. And at that time, people still had to pay to send their children to public schools. There was a rate bill that required families to pay based on the number of children they had and the number of days they attended, which made it very hard for people with large families or with lower income to afford to send their children to public school. I don't think most of us realized that public schools were not always free. And Victor Rice was from Mayville, and he had taught in public schools, and he became a superintendent, and he saw just how difficult it was for some families to provide their children with education. And he was appointed to a state position, and he worked very hard to get that rate bill eliminated. So
well, we still have it in a sense. It's not free. You have the so-called school tax,
it's right,
which is killing us, I might add. Now, back in the 30 some odd years ago, the United States Supreme Court, it went all the way there, ruled that local taxation on your real estate for schools was illegal and unconstitutional. And so immediately people were told they had to fund it through the state taxation, which is much broader. Because certain districts had a lot of valuable real estate, rich people, they got a great education. Some were dirt poor and they just couldn't afford anything, so they got a nothing education. It was not fair and it was unconstitutional. The only thing they forgot to put in this ruling was a implementation date. They haven't implemented it yet in New York. Oh, they've given us a little something. They gave us a star. They give you a little back, you know, make it a little more affordable. But actually, it's illegal to collect school taxes from your real estate. Real estate tax is illegal according to the United States Supreme Court.
Well, it was a big debate back then as well. And the debate then was, should public money, should your property tax be used to educate children rather than your personal income? And so I think it's probably that same philosophical debate that's going on now.
If there is any debate. We don't even know what's going on in Albany, do we?
Probably not.
That affects you, doesn't it? Not knowing what's happening down there, what the budget will be?
Well, certainly, yes. I mean, I think it affects all of us. And, you're right, both with our school districts and our local governments. I think that we all need to start working together more. I think there's a lot of ways that we could offer some shared services that would provide assistance to
What do you think about the
towns.
routine of a township which has only one village in it with the same name, Ripley, Westfield,
Ripley doesn't even have a village. I mean, Ripley, there is no incorporated hamlet in Ripley. It's just the town. But you're right.
What about that? You've got duplication of services, and you could probably consolidate and save a little there, couldn't you?
Well, you think we have 27 towns, 13 villages, 2 cities. There's 40 local governments right there, right in our county. That's a lot of local government.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? England and many of their shires recognized this a few years ago, and they said, hey, we need 5 people to run all these. We'll just make a one government for all the villages. And they did. That was it. They saved $1 zillion. Well, what can you say?
I was looking back at our first year of government operation, and the county budget in 1811 was $86 and I think 3/4 of a cent. So
a handful of ash. Hey, caller, thank you for waiting. Good morning.
Good morning, this wonderful, a little overcast, but still wonderful,
we're getting some sprinkle to water the plants down for Memorial Day, you know?
And it's supposed to be beautiful all week long. with just enough rain to make us happy.
Right.
I have a question for your guest. I live in Westfield, and we have the McClurg Museum, which is one of the fewest known things around. A lot of people don't realize that a small town like Westfield has a museum. And we also have the Lincoln Bedell statue in the opposite park. And I'm wondering if other towns have, like historical. I had a friend, and she's been to Westfield I don't know how many times, and didn't realize that the building in the middle of the park was well, it's the McClurg Mansion, but didn't realize it's a museum now. Are there a lot of little not well-known places throughout the county that have historical either statues or museums that people might be interested in when they're out for a ride this summer, stopping and seeing?
Oh, I think there are, and I think...
Is there, like a list somewhere of where you could get a list and then, stop sometime when you're traveling around?
Yeah, one of the things that we're hoping to do for the bicentennial is to develop a brochure that
Right.
will list all of those organizations and their locations and their
that would
hours.
be wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
that is something that we've included in our budget for next year.
Oh, great.
And I've also written a grant that will allow me to add that type of information to my website at the county site. I have a historian's page, and I think that is a way that so many people now are looking for information is
yes,
through.
I quite often use my...
Yeah, so we're hoping we can get all of that on the website, and also a directory of all of the historical markers in the county.
Right, and there are so many of them, and you don't even, you're buzzing along, don't even realize it half the time, but
Right.
not only where they are, but it might be nice if they had room on their page to put what they say.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd like to have a photograph of the marker and then also the text so somebody could read it.
Right,
And then,
because when you're driving along, you really can't.
Put them on the computer, that'd be fun.
Lots of times you
Right.
can't stop to read it because you got traffic behind you, and you definitely can't read it buzzing by. So
right. I think if they were built into a county map, people could develop driving routes if they wanted to take a Sunday afternoon and go visit some.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds wonderful. You're doing a great job.
Well,
Oh,
thank you.
thanks.
And we have this wonderful little county that's just full of history. We had one of the first settlements in western New York State and things like that. So it's
That's wonderful.
yes, and
Okay.
we should.
Well, the French, when they arrived here, it's anthologized, said, "We are in the Garden of Eden." I said, "This is so beautiful here."
And they were absolutely right. Although sometimes now, when I come over the hill and I can see the village nestled among the trees and the lake in the distance, I'm not kidding. I'm not a crybaby or anything, but I get
You tear up.
tears. Yes, I do.
I used to too when I came
Because-
back from New York.
Well, that's part of it, but then I actually think the Indians would be so appalled at what we've done to so much of this land, this beautiful, beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful land.
Fortunately, we kept most of the New Yorkers out of it from downstate,
One of the stories I like is in the Welch history, and when Dr. Welch was looking for a location for his grape juice plant, and he was being given a tour in Chautauqua County. He came down from Mayville to Westfield. He came down Portage Road,
Yeah.
and on that day the lake was the exact same color as the sky, and he said they had the illusion of sailboats floating on air.
Right.
And he was so captivated by that was one of his.
Well, he's lucky he didn't come down off the hill from Wattsburg to Northeast, because it's the same view. It's just.
Yeah, you're right.
I lived in Northeast for many years, having been a Westfielder, anyways, and it was almost like being home, because when you went up on the hill and you came down, you still saw the beautiful lake and the little village nestled and so forth, and it was almost like being home. But
Yes.
Westfield does say home to me.
Well, thank you, caller.
Thank you.
Thanks for the input. Send me an envelope. I'll send you some $5 off over at the Lakeview, that lovely little
Right.
restaurant at the foot of the hill here in
They
Mayville.
have really good food.
Oh, and do they have a salad bar that'll kill?
Yes, they do. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, okay, I wanted to have
Thank
an
you.
agenda. Thank you. I was talking about Charlie Peacock being, what's his name, Peacock? It was
William
William
Peacock.
Peacock, being chased down. They wanted to hang him and getting away under the coat of his friend. Well, they burned the records, but the problem is they had copies over in Westfield in that same, in a safe, which you oversaw for a long time. Tell them about that safe. That's, I think, the most fascinating thing about the museum.
Oh, yeah, I should also mention the man who is supposedly the person who helped peacock. There's a couple different versions of that story. I don't know if we'll ever know which one is the true.
What's the other one?
Oh, there's a story